This year marks the 50th anniversary of The Godfather, a movie that is widely considered to be one of the greatest gangster films ever made. This iconic birthday made me wonder what The Godfather of video games would be. I mean, besides the Godfather video game from 2006, or its ill-conceived 2009 sequel, of course. Is the greatest gangster game of all time one of the Grand Theft Auto sequels? Perhaps Mafia? Or maybe it's Scarface? Okay, it's definitely not Scarface. Honestly, I don't know what the best gangster game is, but if you were to put my head in a vice and make me choose, I'd nominate the 1992 arcade shooter Dead Connection. This is an action-packed romp through the 1950s with plenty of explosive moments and a surprisingly deep story. And best of all, much like The Godfather, this Taito classic is celebrating an important anniversary this year. So turn back if you don't want to know what happens next, because today we're going to be spoiling the story and ending for the arcade game Dead Connection. This is Game Over, the early years. Now you might be confused why I would compare an arcade shoot-'em-up to one of the greatest films of all time, but I think it's what Taito would have wanted. Not only is this 1992 action game more story-focused than most of the other cabinets, but it even starts out with a nod to Taito film, promising a more cinematic approach to the usual shooter. We see that in the opening cinema, which takes us back to 1953, when four gumshoes team up after a woman is brutally gunned down by the Mafia. Their target is Narosia, the Don of the family, who shares more than a passing resemblance to Marlon Brando in that seminal 1972 film. The four men are Philip, James, Eddie, and Gary, and they believe that Narosia is being protected at the mob-friendly Hotel Diamond Queen. They shoot the place up, but discover that the Don has already fled to safety. Thankfully, they're able to shake down Vincent, the family's accountant, for information, which led them to staking out the junkyard in hopes of catching Bambino, Narosia's right-hand man. This leads to the foursome's first major arrest, and while Bambino is a tough nut to crack, they eventually learn the whereabouts of Narosia. As it turns out, that place is a fancy restaurant known as Campanula. Hold on, wait, did I say that place was fancy? Well, I have a hunch that the Yelp reviews are gonna take a sharp turn for the worst when a car crashes through the front window and dozens of people are gunned down. But the Yelp reviews are the last thing on our hero's mind because it's a trap. The crime fighters are captured by the family and taken away to their hideout. But a funny thing happens on the way to being tortured. Actually, it's more violent than funny, but the point is that the foursome's old colleague Andy is able to create a multi-car pileup and save the heroes from certain death. It's here where the gang violence finally spills into the city streets, forcing the gumshoes to fight for survival. Sadly, Andy is killed in the dust-up, but not before revealing that he knew the whereabouts of Narosia's secret warehouse. Now, in case you're wondering, yes, the raid on the warehouse involves a whole lot of shooting and a bunch of people dying. This game isn't so much about investigating the leads as it is about going somewhere, shooting it up, and then just hoping that the bullets didn't destroy some valuable clues. In this case, all the bullets managed to miss an invitation to the garden party at Narosia's private estate. They then set fire to the warehouse and grab their fanciest shoes because they have a party to attend. It's here where the balance of power finally begins to swing in the favor of our mob-hunting heroes. They blow up the houses and interrupt the garden party, which I have to imagine ruined a whole lot of rich people's afternoon. Oh man, let me tell you, it was an absolute bloodbath, but it was all worth it. Oh sure, Narosia and his ringleader Fazzari may have made a daring escape, but it's clear that the family is in shambles. In fact, you want to know just how bad things are for poor old Narosia? Well, in a twist none of our heroes saw coming, Fazzari actually offered to squeal on his boss in exchange for his own freedom. The trench coat-clad crime fighters declined, instead choosing to kill the gangster. It's while looking at Fazzari's lifeless body face down in the fountain when the four investigators finally figure out where Narosia has been hiding. It's an old, run-down opera house that played a pivotal role in his youth, as it was the place where he had taken the rank of Don for himself. Now it's the background for the final bloody shootout. And let me tell you, Narosia is not gonna go down without a fight. We shoot up the opera house and kill a whole lot of gangsters, and this is what happens next. Oh, now there's a twist ending you don't see very often. Instead of us, the hero, killing the evil Mafia Don, it's a completely different person that we've never even met before. Normally, that kind of thing feels cheap, kind of like a Deus Ex Machina ending. However, I actually think it works here. This is a game that starts out with a group of men so enraged by a woman being gunned down that they will risk everything to take Narosia down. I mean, with that in mind, it only makes sense that a woman would be just as bloodthirsty for revenge after her man is killed by the exact same mobster. Plus, it gives the game a chance to make it look like our heroes are actually gonna die. If the message is that violence only begets more violence, then this is a great way of showing that in practice. This is a good ending. Look, this is one of those games that is instantly enjoyable, yet it's almost never talked about these days. It's not included in Taito compilations and is yet to get a home console port. It's a shame the game wasn't more popular because I would have loved to have seen a follow-up. But not a third game because that probably would have been ruined by Sofia Coppola or something. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Game Over, the early years. Can you believe it? It's the first new episode of the year. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new episodes almost every week. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite gangster game? I mentioned Grand Theft Auto and Mafia at the start, but I'm sure you could also include Yakuza, Sleeping Dogs, and oh boy, a whole bunch of other gang-related games. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we're going to be back later this week with our first new magazine retrospective since 2014. Let me tell you, this is going to be a packed week, so do me a favor and click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,